how'd you get into how'd you get into hunting? How old were you when you first started hunting, and start from there and work out towards the other questions.
Yeah. So are you guys recording? You guys are on there now?
Yeah, I'm recording now.
Okay. So gosh, I started hunting probably around 2. I mean, I wasn't actually hunting, but my dad was packing me around in a backpack at 2 years old. My dad was a logger since, I mean, before I was born. So we had the opportunity to hunt in some pretty cool private timber company ground that not a lot of people had access to. So that was pretty cool. And I mean, I've gone with him ever since I could remember, and I'll never forget the days that I would sleep in. He would always kill a buck, or somebody in the deal would, somebody in the party would kill a buck, and it would just piss me off to no end that I decided to sleep in that day. So it was happened every single time, and now it happens to Bodie because last year in antelope season in Montana, he decided to sleep in. And the old man went out and killed a big old buck, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, so I was hunting. I mean, I was completely infatuated with it. And my brothers, we all got to carry our gun at 11. So at 11 years old, that's when it all started. But I remember being there with my brothers. I've got two older brothers, and just tagging along with them. And man, when I turned 11, it was a nightmare because I was a trigger yanking machine at 11 years old. Let me tell you what.
Yep, I could imagine.
Yeah, I mean, I started shooting. I think the first center fire. Oh, I know the first center fire rifle I shot was a 30-30 at 5. So man, it was a nightmare from after the first shot on.
That's a
That's
big
So
rifle to shoot at 5.
it is, and I started shooting a bow at 7 years old, and by the age of 8, hell, I couldn't aim anywhere near a target without letting the arrow go. So, but I loved shooting so much, I'd shoot till my fingers bled.
Did you have
And
someone show you how to? Sorry to interrupt. Did you have
no,
someone show you how to shoot a bow at 7, or did?
no.
Okay.
No, my dad always had this bear cub recurve sitting in the corner that his mom bought him. My dad was stationed on Sidkanak Island in Alaska for a year in the Coast Guard, and his mom sent him this bear cub recurve because there was nothing else to do on this island but shoot lemmings, I guess, lemmings and ptarmigan. And he didn't even use it. He sent the bow back, and it just it just sat there in the corner. And that was like 1967, somewhere in there. And it sat there. I mean, I was born in 76, and I walked past that bow a million times, and there was yellow painted cedar arrows there with green nocks with natural barred feathers. I knew everything about these arrows. I knew everything about the bow. I just never shot. I couldn't string it. So finally one day I had my old man string it for me and just started shooting, and I couldn't pull it back but a couple of inches.
Yeah,
And
the
but
rest was
man,
history.
but man, I loved it. And then my mom bought me one of those little fiberglass recurves at the hardware store in Eatonville. And that's the one I would shoot till my fingers bled. And I tied a knot in it for a knock point because I didn't know what else to do. So I tied a knot in the string. So
That's a good
yeah, then
idea.
then I got my first compound, and it didn't really matter because I couldn't. And I started shooting barebow with a compound because I couldn't put a sight on anything without letting an arrow go. So it really didn't matter. But
So is that why you still shoot with no
No
sight
sight.
nowadays?
that's not why I shoot now. Why I did it back then was because I couldn't use a sight because I couldn't put a sight on a target. So I thought, well, hell, why would I why would I have that thing hanging off the
Yeah.
front if I could, at least if I was instinctive, nobody expected me to hit anything. And so yeah, it just went on from there. But now I choose to shoot barebow. I love watching the arrow fly out of my eye. I mean, just right straight out of my eyeball. It's the coolest thing in the world, especially if
It's crazy watching you shoot those.
it's going to the side of an elk, man. That's the best.
Yeah.
Can't beat that.
Yeah. I work with a guy named Joe Lapointe.
Yeah, I know. Oh, I got a story about Joe Lapointe. Do you
I
work with
heard
him?
I heard I worked with him when I was back at home.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he was talking about you. I was like, you ever watch Joel's videos of him shooting? And he was like, I haven't watched videos, but I've seen him do it in person. And he told me a story about him and his dad were out and they saw you, and his dad had saw a big bull and didn't want to hike down there and told you where it was, and then you ended up going down and getting it.
Yeah, it was funny, man. I hadn't seen those guys. Like that was the story he's talking about is 2019 when we
Jeez.
had that tag, and the natives get to hunt that, every
Yeah.
year, every other year, whatever. And I didn't know that they were part of that tribe up there that gets to hunt that unit. And these guys, I was dealing with this nice bull, 6x6 bull, and it was in this nasty brush patch, and I'm calling this bull in. It didn't work out. I end up walking out to the road, and then here comes this pickup truck around the corner. And this is 2019, and I hadn't seen Joe LaPointe since 1994. So it was a long time,
Yeah.
bro. Because I mean, we grew up
Yeah.
together. His dad was an old finger shooter, and we kind of ran around with that crew, and so these guys come around the corner, and I didn't recognize them. And Joe LaPointe is in the passenger seat, and he's elk, and he's like, "You look familiar." I'm like, "Yeah, you look familiar too." And he says, "I'm Joe LaPointe." I'm like, "Man, I grew up with you." So his dad was driving the truck, and there was this old guy in the back seat, and he wasn't saying anything, right? And he wasn't saying nothing, but I mean, he evidently saw that we weren't a bunch of a-holes. So he finally gets out. When he gets out, this is like noon now. He gets out, and we're kind of on this big ridge. Road's like a third of the way from the top of the ridge, and this bull bugle's down in the river valley. And this guy, it was so funny. He finally says something. He pipes up and goes, "You hear that bull down there?" I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "That's the growler." I'm like, "Oh, are you going after the growler?" They're like, "Nope, we're not going down there." So, but this old boy had hunted that place for 40 years. So he knew every horse trail and everything about everything that happened in there with all the logging and all the stuff that went on. So he told us about this old horse trail that went down along the river. We went down there, crossed the river, and I killed the growler that evening. So it was pretty epic.
That's funny.
But yeah, that's funny. You know him as well.
Yep. Yeah, that's where he hunts there. I swear, him and his family, they get a bull every year out of there.
Yeah, as they should.
Yeah.
They get to hunt them with rifles in the rut, so they should be getting them.
Yeah. Yeah, they get a long season out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's always how it turns out. We were hunting one year, and there was this. It was a cow, and the guy had a cow tag, and we were talking to him, and we're like, "You gonna go shoot that thing?" And he's like, "No." He's like, "We're like, why?" He's like, "'Cause I'll die before I can get it out of there." And it's just
Yeah,
a
apparently he had
steep.
hiked. He said that his dad had hiked down there the day before or something like that. And he was like, I'm not going back down there.
Yeah, well, they were going in a different way. They were going through this nasty hillside of reprod. And then evidently the old boy in the back seat didn't tell him how to get there because he told us right how to get there. And that was a hell of a hike. It was 4.5 miles from the
Jeez.
truck where I shot him. So
Jeez.
that was through lots of brush and crossing the river and all kinds of stuff. So
Wow.
But that was a fun pack out.
yeah, it was epic. Thankfully, my hunting partner is an absolute mule, but we were coming out of there at 1 a.m. and man, we got in this jack fir patch that was just Seth, my hunting partner Seth, he doesn't say much, but man, he was cussing up a storm that night. We'd kind of lost our way. We knew we had to get back down to the river, but we were trying to hit the river crossing and make a shortcut. But I mean, you're talking 1 a.m. through a jack fir patch, and
Yeah.
it was full of old growth blowdowns. And next day we slept for a couple hours at the truck and then went back in and actually cut our way up through these cliffs. And the pack out the next day wasn't crazy, but it was still pretty hard. But we cut
Well worth it though.
off like 1.5 miles, so that was good. But that's where I learned that I will never put meat in a backpack again. I don't know how you guys pack bulls out, but a pack out bag is the way to go. If you guys look, packoutbag.com, that thing is so good.
So
It's
you wouldn't
it's
do
basically a human pannier.
What'd you say?
It's a human pannier. It's got a bag in the front and a bag in the back.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's so much easier to pack meat. You can just roll it up, fold it up, throw it in your day pack. So you don't got to carry a big old frame pack on you when you're elk hunting, so you can pack out the first trip or whatever. That's all. I don't do any of that crap anymore. I just carry my pack out bag, and now they made them out of lighter material. And I don't get nothing from pack out bag. It's just an amazing invention. It's been around for a long time, and I had no idea that it even existed.
So
I'll have to look into those.
that leads me to a question. When you're hunting out of state or out of town, do you use like some people use like frozen milk jugs and some people use ice and what do you, or do you just hang it where it's cool, or how do you manage the meat, say if you're going to be there for a couple days after you've shot something?
Well, we figure out like I don't hunt way in, so I can always make it out to my rig. Like we day hunt out of our rigs. We might be sleeping on the side of the road. It just depends on where we've located bulls, but I'm usually within 4 miles of my rig.
Okay.
And so I'll get it out to my rig, and then we just go to a local, place where we can hang it, a local walk-in cooler, or we go get ice, or we go get dry ice, or whatever we need to do. If we got to go overnight with it, we will set up a meat tent. Like we'll set up another tent, like a 2-man tent, open up all the flies, all the doors, and just lay that meat on the floor of the tent and rotate it. And so the air's going through there, and then we'll rotate it. So it's not always, we got to get it exposed to that air. You got to get the meat to 55 degrees in the first 6 hours. Otherwise you get exponential bacterial growth in it. So that's the key. You got to get it cooled down. You got to get it boned out. And like if it's a half a mile or less, then I'll just leave the bone in. But if it's over that, I'll just bone it out, which I usually end up boning it out.
Gotcha.
I heard you're pretty good at processing meat.
Yeah, I get to do quite a few. So it's I've been doing it. My dad showed me how to do that when I was a little kid, so we just kind of got it perfected on. And I'm not like a commercial butcher or anything like that. You watch these guys that are on YouTube and all that stuff, and they're amazing, but I just have a way that I do it, and it's pretty slick, and I know what cuts I have when I get done, and I can always, when I take it out of the game bag, I can identify it and all those things. So
Yeah.
there's so many
I
game
heard.
bags out there now. Like I don't know,
Oh, it's crazy.
What are you guys using for game bags?
Garbage bag.
I just got the mystery ranch ones. I haven't used them yet.
And what's special about the Mystery Ranch ones? What's their claim to fame?
They're the synthetic material.
Yeah.
That's about it. I don't know. I haven't really used them yet. I
So
heard someone talking about getting the synthetic material, and I just looked up synthetic game bags, and that was one of the first ones that came up.
Yeah, so I started using the born and raised ones. They seem to be pretty good.
Those are cool. I like how they have the zippers on them.
That zipper is pretty good. It's legit. It's legit stuff.
And the born and raised ones, they come with five bags. Is it four bags and then one for like scrap meat, or?
Yeah, I believe that's it. Four quarter bags and then a scrap meat bag.
Yeah, I've always used Glade bags, garbage bags.
Oh man, you don't want to put garbage bags on your meat, bro.
No?
No, I I had a guy at one of my clinics that actually made those things.
Yeah.
That was his job, to make plastic bags, and he says you do not want to put your meat in garbage bags. There's so many things that goes into that. You don't want that stuff touching your meat. So if you do put it in a garbage bag, then put in a game bag first, so that's not actually touching the meat. And you got to be careful because that stuff will hold the heat too. So and condensation and all kinds.
No air's getting to them.
Maybe that's why I run into so many problems.
Might be.
I've literally last year I shot my buck, and it was I think 6 miles in and out each way, and I shot him and I put him in Glade bags and everything, and that's why I was asking you, because I had him on ice and everything, and I got home and it was already on the verge of, it could have been bad if I wasn't home the same day. Yeah.
Yeah, you want to put it in game bags first, man, because the air will flow through those things. So no garbage bags.
So the question
I finally
the question I had was when did you the shot IQ thing? When did you like? How do I explain this? When did you know that you were on to something, or that you knew something that could help a lot of people?
So it probably, I mean, it started in 2009 when I became the lead firearms instructor for Washington State. So every cop had to come through me for firearms training at the academy. And I didn't know how to I didn't know how to control the shot, and all the firearms instructors, their methods were not working for very many people. And first of all, I had to realize that nothing works for you in shooting. Like you're literally overriding your own central nervous system. So that's what you have to focus on, is how do you override your central nervous system? And that's when, I had this one, I always talk about this story. My light bulb moment was I had this recruit that was what we call a nervous Nelly. And we get him in every class, just fairly high strung people, nervous, anxious. And, my job was to get him through firearms. And he was shooting at 20 yards, but his bullets were hitting the floor at 15. Like he was shooting several feet low because of yanking the trigger, right? Well, it's not that he's yanking the trigger, it's that he's flinching when he does yank the trigger. So I had to figure out, how am I going to get this kid to override his own central nervous system? And that's when I started talking him through the shot. And that was my light bulb moment when I saw that his finger was moving the exact rate that I was talking. And so that's when I started researching into neurolinguistic programming. And then, this came to that. And I started looking at the science of visual proprioception, and then the sciences of open and closed loop control systems, and basically making that into a package. And I was seeing such impact, such instantaneous change, that I'm like, okay, this is real stuff. And then, I was always able to vet what I was coming up with through some buddies that were in some military units that have been in several gunfights, and so I was able to go, is this real? Like, does this really happen to you in a gunfight or not? And so they would give me their information, and I could interpret it and change how I taught or keep it the same or whatever I found out from them. So I always had bow hunting as my sounding board, though. Like it was okay for me to fail in bow hunting, but not okay for me to fail in the tactical world. Because by this time in 2009, see, I became a sniper on the SWAT team in 2003. So I'd already gone through numerous years of being scared to death of actual, lethal force incidents, because I didn't know how I was going to do. Because I'd go out and shoot at a coyote and completely miss the thing because I yanked the trigger because I was afraid it was going to get away. Well, I just wasn't talking myself through the shot. And it's all the stuff that we do in shot IQ and mind IQ and the Turner model and all the stuff all boils down to the ultimate skill of the human being, which is the ability to get loud in your own head with the right words at the right moment. That's what's gotten us all through everything we've been through. When we were successful, we had the right words at the right moments and we got loud. When we were not successful, we had the wrong words and the wrong moments, or we just weren't loud enough. So, people talk about being mentally tough or being consistent, persistent, whatever they think has gotten them through, but it's actually the ability to get loud in your own head. That's the base skill of the human being. And that's all we did. That's what we've done all these years. And it took all those years from 2009 to now 2024 to realize that that is what we've been teaching people. And it sounds so simple, but few people can actually explain it.
Yeah.
And what we've been doing a lot lately in the shot IQ courses is commentary shooting. Like, you have to talk me through your shot while you are shooting. So I've got people up there, they're drawing back. Okay, I'm drawing back and aiming. Okay, got my aim done. All right, now I'm putting my finger on the trigger. Okay, I got that done. All right, now I'm going to say, here I go to increase my presence. Here I go. And now I'm going to talk myself through the pressure increase on the trigger by saying whatever, right? So they figure out what the right words are at the right moments. And it gets you in control much faster than any technique that we've ever used, because if you can't say it out loud, you can't say it in your head. That's how it works. Like, once you get your verbiage down and you get over your fear of actually talking to somebody else while you're shooting, once you get that down and you get the conversation down, then you can turn that speech internal, and then you can blueprint it. What did I say? When did I say it? And then when you understand that, now you know exactly how you shoot your controlled shots. So you take that to the elk woods, you're like, okay, I know exactly how I'm going to kill that bull. I know exactly how I'm going to shoot my shot. I know what I'm going to say, and I know when I'm going to say it, because that's the ultimate skill of the human being.
So is it hard to keep that mental process when you have your sight on an animal?
So there you're talking about the concept of thoughts aren't thinking. Thoughts are what you hear, thinking is what you say. So when you're on a critter, the volume of your thoughts is increased. Oh my God, that's a giant bull. That has no instruction, it has no strategy. Therefore, it is a thought. Thoughts have no instruction, thoughts have no strategy, thoughts cannot solve problems. So if you find yourself in that realm, having thoughts about how big the critter is, then you have to increase the volume of your thinking beyond that. Thinking is what you say. It's your voice, and it's got to be the loudest one in the room. So you might have that giant bull standing there, but you're like, oh my God, that thing's a giant. Huh? I'm going to draw back and aim. Got it. I'm going to put my finger on the trigger. Got it. I'm going to say, here I go. Got it. Then you talk yourself through the trigger pressure increase. And it's not a mystery. Like, it can't be a mystery how you're going to shoot. But most people, when they go shoot, it's a mystery on how it's going to go, and they keep punching the trigger. And if you keep punching the trigger, even if you're shooting well, if you keep punching the trigger, you are literally practicing your own failure, because you're practicing to become more and more and more efficient. And that's what's completely unnatural about shooting. Like, you can't follow the adult learning model, because you'll end up at automaticity. It's an automatic movement. And that just keeps getting more and more and more efficient. And your trigger spin faster and faster to where it goes open loop, and then it links bracing movements to your trigger motor program, and you are stuck shooting an 8-inch group at 20 yards, or whatever it may be.
So then you're basically just compensating for your bad habits.
Yeah, and it gets worse when you're on critters, because the thought volume has increased. So your subconscious mind takes over, and it's like, let's do this. You're going to be a hero. And you shoot, let's say you shoot and you kill that bull. You're like, oh man, this is the greatest day of my life. But if you didn't control your shot, you didn't make yourself any more powerful, because you don't know how it's going to go the next time. That's why people kill like one bull every 10 years. And they miss a whole pile of them in the rest of it, and because they don't know how it's going to go. Why would you do that if you know? I mean, the code has been cracked, man. There's no reason to go through life not in control of your shot.
So I'll say this: I've shot an index this whole time, and I watched a video and it was, I don't think it was your video, but it was like, I think it was Dan Staten with you or something, and you were talking about, or maybe it wasn't. I could be wrong, but it was about people switch releases thinking that'll help them, and instead of fixing the problem. And I already know that I punched the trigger, and I know I'm terrible at it. And so a lot of my buddies and stuff were like, just try a thumb button, try a thumb button. But I seen that you said like something about, if you get the thumb button and you just start practicing bad habits right away, you're better off waiting and doing it correctly, or something along those lines. But
So it's people trying to do a mechanical fix to a mental problem. If you punch the trigger on an index finger, like most people are, and then you're like, okay, everybody at the bow shop's like, oh man, you got to try a thumb button. So you go to a thumb button, you shoot it like 10 times, and your mind goes, okay, we got this, right? Your little honeymoon period's over. And then you start going open loop on that trigger, which means you're punching that trigger, right? And you're like, oh man, I'm punching this one now. What am I going to do now? Now you go to a hinge. And then eventually you start punching a hinge, and then you're left with a resistance release, which is a good training aid, but it's the least accurate release system there is. But you're stuck. You're stuck in that. If you keep doing these mechanical fixes to a mental problem, you should be able to control any release you want. Like there should be 100 releases in front of you on a picnic table. You pick one up, you mess with it a little bit, you're like, okay, yep, got it. Figured out the trigger on this one, and go shoot it with control. Why wouldn't you? It's a difference in the approach to the shot, not the shot itself. Instead of shooting your bow, why don't you use your bow for concentration practice? That's how you get really good at it. That contraption that's there behind you is the most incredible tool to use for the highest levels of concentration known to mankind. Right? That's all it's for. That's how you approach it. That's what we're using it for. Either you use the shot to make you stronger, or you allow the shot to make you weaker. You choose. So in shooting, unlike most sports, you have to put your conscious mind into a movement. In most other sports movements, you have to keep your conscious mind out of the movement, or you'll alter the motor program. So like when I got to train the Philadelphia Phillies pitching team this year, and because they didn't know anything about open and closed loop control systems, they don't know the where and the when of the mental game equation. So they can't possibly fix certain movement problems that they're having in pitching because they're trying to fix it in a spot that it can't be fixed because it's too fast. Can't gain the feedback. So
Last weekend at the, I don't know what, was it called the elk conversion or?
Elk Immersion Clinic, yeah.
So my buddy Michael was there, and he said, he said the Stan Onyx clicker is the only release he will use the rest of his life. That if you get he said
That
all his
click.
releases are garbage now, and he wants nothing to do with them. And he said that if you have a Stan Onyx clicker and you have Joel teach you the proper way to use it, and then you get some tips from his son as well and shoot with them, he's like, it changed my whole shot and everything. Like, yeah.
Well, even before that one came out, I remember when I took your class, I was using your that Scott Verge, and even that one was a big difference. Just
Yeah,
it's that click. It's crazy how much it works.
Yeah, the click it's been used in a way that didn't really help people. For decades it was used. I mean, it's been around for a long time in a hinge. And people didn't really use it. They used it in a way where they used it as a form check, right? So right when you got to anchor, click that you're supposed to roll that hinge and click as a form check. And it didn't really work out that great. So because if it didn't click at the right time, you're like, oh my God, now what? Now they would click before they aim. So you got to get your aim done first. And if you keep your weapon not hot, right? Basically, if you keep the safety on because you haven't gone to the click yet, you've removed all the anxiety from the aim. So let's use the click as a presence point. Let's use the click to set up a motor program so we get a practice swing at it. Let's use the click to set the preload so we're coming from the exact same place every time. So with that Onyx clicker, I'm thinking, why do we not have a click and a thumb button? And I gave it to some other release companies, and they didn't really glom onto it until I went to Stan, and Stan had it built in 3 hours. From the time told them, they had it built in 3 hours. And so now, I mean, the sequence is very simple. You draw back and aim, then you press to the click, then you say, here I go, then you talk yourself through the pressure increase. And it does amazing things for your mind, but you can't treat it as a mechanical fix to a mental problem, right? Just use the click for what its purpose is. All those things I just talked about, set up the motor program, preload, all that stuff. It's really cool. And because the input is so small, that's when you get extreme accuracy, because the input to the release, you don't have to pull on it, you don't have to roll your whole hand, you don't got to do anything. You can just press the click and then you press again super slow. And it's pretty wild, man.
I love that thing. I just got one a couple months ago, and
Oh, did you?
I
Good.
won't go back.
Yeah, they're pretty awesome. I killed some stuff with it. I killed the biggest things I've ever killed in my life with it last year, and it was so awesome to just like click. Oh, you're about to die. So
So this
Were you able
weekend,
to put a strapper? Go ahead.
well, I was gonna ask him. So this weekend, I'm going to the Northwest Mountain Challenge at Stevens Pass, and so I was wanting to ask you about the cam timing and the limb bolts for that you do and Bodie does with his bows for different locations.
if you zero your bow and you've got a sight tape built, you've only built it for that day, that elevation, that physiological condition of your body. So you then take your bow to a tournament, or you go to Northwest Mountain Challenge or whatever, you go back and you shoot 20, 50, and 80. If your 20's good, your 50's good, your 80's a little bit low. Then you would put like an eighth of a crank, depending on what bow you're shooting. Like if it's a Matthews, one crank of the limb bolt is a lot.
Yeah.
If you're shooting a Hoyt or something, it's only 2 or 3 pounds. So if your 80 is low, you increase your poundage a slight bit until your 20, 50, and 80 are back on. That's how you fine tune a sight tape for different locations and different physiological changes to your body. So like Bodie tends to not eat a lot at tournaments. So he may have to do something different to the bow. He might have to change some stabilization in the bow so it holds differently. He might have to move his sidebar out slightly because of a torque issue or whatever. But as far as the sight tape goes, don't be afraid to put a little crack in your limb bolts. Now, if your 80 is high, you would then take some out. And instead of moving pointers and doing all that stuff and changing sight tapes all the time that people do, just tune the bow or just change the bow slightly. It's not going to mess with your tune at all. So don't worry about that. Just 20, 50, and 80. Get those hitting. 20 and 50 are good. That 80 will show you exactly what's happening. So
That's
That's
gold.
smart.
Yeah.
And this is
I heard
something
him
that
and Dan.
Bodie, like, I don't know how the kid figured it out, but he does. That's totally on him, man.
That's
Like
impressive.
the other pros are like, "What are you doing, man? You're messing with your limb bolts." He's like, "Yeah, watch this."
Watch this.
His sight tapes are so perfect because he uses metal sight tapes. Everybody else is using their phone and they got, Archer's Advantage or whatever on their phone, or Archer's Mark, and they're looking at their phone every time. And Bodie's like, just dials it in and sends that sucker. So
That's crazy.
couple elk questions, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
What's
me.
your favorite state to hunt elk?
My favorite state to hunt elk is Wyoming.
Wyoming? Okay, and then if you had to hunt Washington and you had to either pick the Coast Range or like along the Cascade Range, like the east side of I-5, what one would you pick?
I'd go east of I-5 every time.
Okay. All right.
So, I mean, most of the coast is now leased up or it's all permits or whatever. So the bulls that are east of I-5 between there and the Cascades are giants. They are some of the biggest, and we've had a lot of luck hunting those bulls. I don't hunt them any differently. I don't hunt them any differently from Wyoming to Washington. Doesn't matter. They're just, I deal with instincts of elk.
Okay, so if one tip that you've learned over the years that is crucial for hunting elk or hunting Roosevelt elk, let's just say that, what one tip or trick would you give if someone's looking to be successful that you think is that they might not know or is overlooked?
I'll give you two. The two worst sounds you could ever make in the elk woods. Number one is a mature cow sound. Number two is bugling with chuckles. Those are the two least biologically correct sounds that you could ever make, but they're the two most common sounds of human beings in the elk woods. So number one with the cow sounds, imagine this in the real, in the human world, we have a female that chooses a male, right? One. Well, in the elk world, it's 20 females choose the bull, right? It's the herd. The herd of cows chooses the bull. Now, when was the last time that a bunch of human females got together and talked nicely about another female that wants to procreate with their man?
Never.
It doesn't happen.
No.
It doesn't happen in the mammal world, especially in a herd dynamic. So if you make mature cow sounds to a bull or to a herd that has cows in it, you just completely destroyed your odds of calling that bull in. The cows will not allow their bull to go play with the hussy in the bushes. So why in the world? And plus, if you're in a room and you hear an adult female scream outside, you are probably going to move toward a window or a door. You're not just going to go rushing outside, and you're going to stop at that window. You're going to stop where you can see the location of where the screams came from. You're going to stop and you're going to look and you're going to be suspicious. That's the hang up spot. Bulls will always hang up if you're cow calling them in. However, what sound makes it so we go outside with no inhibitions? A baby crying. So you do not allow your elk sounds to fall into the cow spectrum. You create all kinds of problems when you do that. If you just stay in the calf spectrum, you are sexually neutral. You're not a sexual threat to the cows. Everybody wants to help a baby, and bulls are pedophiles. So, I mean, it's a win-win situation. Like last year, I called in 54 bulls to 40 yards or less. Most of them were with calf calls.
Holy cow.
Year before, it was mostly with calf calls. In 2021, we killed 4 bulls in 2 days. I calf called every one of those bulls in, right? So if a bull doesn't have cows and you say, well, I've got a really sweet nasally cow call, cool. If he would come into that, he's damn sure coming into a calf call.
Yeah.
So there's no reason to do mature cow sounds in the elk woods. I don't care how sexy you sound. Right? If you want to remove inhibitions from elk and deal with instincts, then stay on the calf spectrum. And a lost calf is loud, frantic, emotional. That's the key to calf calling bulls in.
Yeah.
But the other one is bugling with chuckles. If you bugle with a chuckle, that's a bull-to-bull communication. Are bulls killed by challenge bugles every year? Yes, but not near as many as would be killed by a bull calling cows bugle, a bull talking directly to cows. So have you heard any of my elk calling stuff before, Jordan?
A little bit.
Ron, have you heard any of my elk calling stuff?
To be honest, I've watched everything that you put on YouTube, so.
Okay, so you know about the bull calling cows bugle then?
Yeah.
So just for people that maybe don't know about it, if you and I were standing at the doorway of a bar, and the reason that I was a cop for 20 years, for crying out loud. I've been to hundreds of bar fights, and that's what taught me how to kill elk, right? So if you and I were at the doorway of the bar, and I said, okay, Ron, you got 30 seconds to go in the bar, get in a fight with another male. You can't use your hands. You can only use your words. Got 30 seconds. What's your 100% strategy for getting punched in the face? If you go in the bar and you talk to a dude and you insult him, it depends on his attitude whether he fights you or not. But if you go in there and you talk to a lady that's definitely with a dude, then the dude has no option but to remove you from the bar.
Right.
Because she might be interested, right?
Yeah.
So when you get tight on these herds, if you bugle with a chuckle, you just went in the bar and you talk to a dude. Why would you do that? Right? It significantly reduces your odds. You go into the bar and you talk directly to the female, like, hey, baby, want to go make a calf? He's going to then yell back at you, right? This is what would happen. And this is what does happen every day in bar fights, right? Dude then yells at you. You don't talk to him at all. You just keep talking to her. And if you keep talking to her in inappropriate ways, his rage will increase to the point where he has no option but to punch you in the face.
Yeah.
So that's what you do. You get as tight as you can on these herds and you talk to the females with a short, raspy bugle with no chuckles. No chuckles is the key. If bulls are bugling and they don't chuckle, they're talking to cows. If they bugle with a chuckle, they're talking to another bull. So let's be biologically correct out there.
Yeah.
And quit reducing our own odds with the sounds that we're making. And I get it that people kill bulls every year with cow calls, and they kill bulls every year by bugling and chuckling, but they're only killing the ones that are of the right attitude.
Are you pretty aggressive? Are you pretty aggressive when you're calling, or do you do like a location bugle and find one and then work your way into that, or what do you recommend doing?
So if I'm doing location bugles, I'm doing that at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. I'm doing that before daylight, because bulls don't do location bugles after daylight. They're not having to send out that warning after daylight, because after daylight it turns into roundup bugles where that is just short, fluty, no chuckles. Those bulls are not leading the cows, they're just following the cows, and they're trying to think that they're in charge. So you'll hear these roundup bugles, and that's when I just ghost them at that point. I'm just staying with the herd. I'll try to stay off to the side of them, usually behind them just slightly. And then when the bugles stop, then when they change from roundup bugles to bull calling cows bugles, when you hear more rasp, when you hear more emotion in the bugle, those elk have stopped. Now they're in the bedroom. That's when I will swoop up to the same contour and I'll come in from the side. And all I'm doing, if I believe that bull's got cows, then I'm simply hunting his cows. And I get within 60, 70 yards of a cow, just one, and I get ready, get set, get your arrow on, get your release on, whatever you're doing, get your feet set, stay standing if you have any vertical cover, if you're in any type of timber at all, and then you hit him with a bull calling cows bugle. And he's going to respond with probably a bugle with chuckles, because he's talking to you. You never talk to him. He's never the subject of your calling. If you want to elicit the instinct of rage from that bull, you never talk to him. You do one bull calling cows bugle to the cows. He's going to scream back. He's going to start toward you. He'll probably stop and rake a tree. When he stops to rake a tree, you just do a bull calling cows bugle over the top of him. And now his rage is so high that he has to remove you from the bar.
And then it's on.
And he's going to come in very close, and he's going to come straight onto you. If you get a chance to draw your bow back, cool. If you want to shoot him in the front, cool. I'm good with all that stuff. But if you don't get a chance to draw your bow back, here's a very specific technique for you. So as the bull's coming toward you, like, oh man, there he is. Just keep your arms in, keep your bow in front of your face, keep your arms relaxed up against your body so that you can stay there for a long time. Be looking through your limbs, maybe between your riser and your quiver. Just keep the bow in front of your face, so you're looking through all your stuff. And then the bull comes in, like, let's say 10 yards, and you're going to see his body language change when he sees you. Like, his head will come up, and he's like, oh, what's that? Is that the bull I'm trying to kill? And he'll be all confused, and just wait. And then you'll see his head will come up a little farther, ears will come forward, and like, okay, he's about to whirl. Let him whirl. Let him whirl. And when you see his tail, that is when you draw your bow, because when you see their tail, you're outside the 270 vision. So when you see the tail, you draw your bow back and you give them the yo. You just do it with your voice, right? And that's basically barking at them to get them to identify themselves. It stops them mid-stride. The cool thing about a bull elk is his neck is too swollen to look over his hind end. So he has to turn quartering away to actually see you. So when you yo him, he's going to stop. He's going to quarter away. You're already at full draw. And then you put your pin on him. And then you put your finger on the trigger. And then you say, here I go. And then you talk yourself through the pressure increase. That bull will stay there plenty long for you to shoot a controlled shot. So a lot of
I
mean, you got to ask yourself, have you ever practiced the stop sound in your shooting? Because most people, what happens is they're like, oh my gosh. So they're got their bow in front of their face. They're like, oh my gosh, Turner was right. Like he stopped. He's 10 yards. Oh man, okay. I'm supposed to wait for the whirl and I'm supposed to wait for his tail. Okay. There's some body language change. Oh my gosh, I think he's gonna whirl. And he whirls like, oh, there's his tail, and you draw your bow back. When you stop him, you're like, oh my God, it worked, right? And you're like, what pin was it? I don't know. Peep sight, never heard of her. And then you just punch the crap out of the trigger and you miss the chance of a lifetime, right?
Oh, you're getting me excited.
You got to practice your stop sound and use your stop sound to start your shot process, not finish it. How often do we see on TV a big old whitetail buck at 15 yards walking underneath somebody's tree stand, and you know they're at full draw because all the cameras they got on them showed them that they're at full draw, and then you hear man poop, right? As soon as they do their stop sound, they punch the trigger.
Yeah.
And that's why they corn box these bucks with a. Luckily, they shoot a 4-inch broadhead and they're good to go.
Yeah.
But it makes for crazy TV.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't been that close to a bull yet. So
Oh, well, you will.
hopefully this is the year.
If you use those techniques, there's no reason for them not to come in. You've given them every reason to come to you. That's the key.
So, the other question that I had that I wanted to ask is, on your arrows for elk season, what weight do you usually, and what FOC percentage, or do you not pay attention to that?
So with compounds, the way that compounds shoot these days, it's not that big a deal. Shoot a super sharp broadhead. I like Grim Reaper, Micro Hades, right? 125 grain 4-blade. The point on that thing is so freaking sharp, and the blades are so sharp. I've had really good luck with that broadhead. I've seen Iron Wills do some amazing work. The thing is, a lot of these broadheads that are out there that they're like one-piece design and you can sharpen them on a flat stone or whatever, they're not that sharp. The frickin' bevel's 66 degrees, right? It's like that. Whereas on everything else, you're shooting like that. So the blood trails just aren't amazing with them. The penetration's good, the construction's good, but man, you got to do something to get the bevel down. You got to get that thing a bit steeper so you can actually get it sharp. And I was given a fantastic tip from actually one of the manufacturers of these types of heads. And he takes a piece of 2-inch PVC and puts emery cloth on the top of that, and then sharpens that broadhead on that, on that piece of PVC, and that changes that bevel angle and gets it a bit, gets it down a bit so you can get them way sharper. So that's a good tip because everybody's trying to sharpen them on flat stones.
Yeah.
Well, you can only get them so sharp. And my experience has been that the blood trails are not near what they could be. So, I'm a big proponent of a super sharp broadhead. If you stay at like 10 to 15% FOC, cool. What's your broadhead do at 100 yards? Bodie shoots broadheads at 140 yards. Not that he's shooting critters with that, but if he can get his broadhead close to his field point, you're not going to get it exact at 140. But if you can get it close, man, 80's easy, 60's easy, right? And I'm not saying shoot elk at 80 yards, but if your broadheads and your field points hit together at 80, which they should, then you're ready to go. You're tuned up. I shoot about 20, 21, 22% on my longbow arrows.
Yeah.
I'm 540 grain arrow, but out of a compound, Bodie shoots 415 to 460 grains, depending on what critters we're chasing. So, But
Yeah,
as far as mechanical broadheads go, I'm not a huge mechanical fan, but the Bomar Beast seems to be amazing.
That's what I was going to ask about those
And
beasts.
I don't have any affiliation with anybody's broadheads or anything like that. I don't really do the sponsorship thing. But the Bomar Beast, Bodie killed a bunch of stuff with that thing last year, and it was impressive. And
Yeah, I've heard nothing but good things about those.
It's so freaking sharp. It's amazing. So if you're going to shoot a mechanical, I highly recommend that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one's
So
making moves.
what's your opinion on clocking and then shooting a left or right helical? I know I talked to you about this a week ago or something.
We haven't had it make a big difference. When Bodie's shooting 330x games on indoor, we've had some of his arrows reverse in mid-flight. We're watching it in the camera, reverse in mid-flight. He shot some arrows the other day. We're testing some vanes, and one of them reversed in mid-flight, and it still hit the X. It doesn't matter that much. So, if it goes the way that it clocks, then you shouldn't have the reversal. But it just seems like the air is coming over that arrow sometimes in weird ways when it comes out of the bow. And it just doesn't seem to matter that much. So I don't know. And we're shooting, I'm only shooting a stick bow, so my arrows are on like 170 feet per second. When they start spinning one way, they keep going that way. But
Yeah.
on Bodie's arrows, we've seen it change several times and not affect where it impacts. So, but we know that, he shoots those Bomar Beast practice heads at 120 all the time and just smokes it.
With your longbow, my brother brought over a longbow that he received from his father-in-law, and we tried shooting it out at my house at some targets. And is it just something you got to keep trying and learn? Because, I freaking sucked. I was hitting the ground. I couldn't even make it to the target. I was hitting the ground every time. And
so what you said earlier was that you're a trigger puncher.
yeah.
If you're a trigger puncher, that's going to be exponentially worse with a stick bow.
Yeah.
So if you gain control with your trigger, then you can take that approach over to a stick bow. So, and that's what, on my Shot IQ online course, we've got all the info on what the science is behind that and how to actually do that. So
on the course, because I haven't taken the course, if I take the course, or if anyone takes the course, and what if they're still struggling? Can they reach out to get more help, or?
Yep. All the time. Yeah.
Okay.
I answer emails every day.
Okay.
But the answer is, we know what the ultimate skill is. The ultimate skill is the ability to get loud in your own head with the right words at the right moments.
Yeah.
So when people email me and they say, man, I've slipped back into target panic, or it was working for me and now it's not. I'm like, okay, first of all, it's never going to work for you, right? Don't be looking for things that work for you. Look for things that tell you how to do the work, right? So if they tell me that, I'm like, why? I don't even ask them anything. I go, why did you stop talking to yourself? And they're like, oh, you're right. I stopped talking. If you stopped talking, you started listening. And what you're listening to are thoughts. Thoughts have no instruction. Thoughts have no strategy. As soon as the volume of your thoughts gets louder than the volume of your thinking, you will punch the trigger 100% of the time. Because
I catch myself doing that.
Yeah, because to override and to stay closed loop on the trigger, the only route to concentration is speech. You got to talk your way through it. Speech is how you move thoughts from the limbic system of the brain in the back to the prefrontal cortex, where you can actually think. The vehicle is always speech. So if you start punching a trigger again, it's because you stopped talking, you're using the wrong words, or you're just not loud enough. Right? Because if you go outside, if you're punching a trigger and you go out and you talk somebody through your shot, you will find that you're starting to talk about your aim. You're talking about things that you have no control over, right? There's no sense in that. There's no sense to talk to your release. Like people draw their bow back and like, okay, here I go. And they start working in silence, and then they find themselves going, oh, come on, go off, go off, go off, go off. They're talking to their damn release. You're talking to a piece of metal. You got to talk to you. You got to talk to your own body. You can't talk to a piece of equipment.
So
It doesn't do
that's what I'm doing then,
anything.
because I'll get there and
Yeah.
I'll sit there so long that I start shaking, and I'm like, why won't you go off? And then I just get
Yeah, yeah,
and just punch him.
yeah, yeah. You're talking to your release, literally. So if you were teaching me how you shoot, you wouldn't say that,
No.
right? So you got to
Yeah.
treat it like you're always teaching somebody else how to shoot. And people are like, well, what do I say? You say what you would say to somebody else if you were working them through it.
Here I go.
If here I go is a decision, it increases your presence, but like I used to be pretty hung up on it's got to be one word and you stretch it. Like if it was pull, like if you're shooting index finger trigger, you open your hand up, you hook one finger around it. Here I go. Oh, until it goes off or it doesn't. It's none of your business, right? But maybe it needs to be a conversation. Maybe if you're having trouble with the initial pressure, it needs to be a conversation. So draw back and aim, got it. Hook in the trigger, got it. Here I go. Okay, easy now, easy. Okay, yeah, I feel that pressure increase. Easy, stay in that. Yeah, that feels good. Pull until it goes off. Have a conversation with yourself, right?
Yeah.
If you're having trouble with your initial pressure increase, then talk through it, right? Don't be afraid to talk. Commentary shooting just roots out all the BS in your shot, right? And then you would realize that, man, I'm talking to my release or I'm talking to my aim. None of that helps you.
No.
It seems so simple. I get it, right? But I consider myself the master of the unknown obvious. It's right there in front of our face, but we don't see it. And if you don't realize what the ultimate skill is, then you keep skipping over it and expecting things to work out. It doesn't work that way in shooting, right? Like I tell people this now. In most, I'm sure you guys can agree with this. In most arenas in life, it is more important that you listen more than you talk, except for shooting. Again, because if you are listening in shooting, you're listening to thoughts. You need to talk yourself through the entire shot. And then you'll go, okay, what did I say? When did I say it? And you blueprint it. And that's when you become extremely effective at shot control.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So when you switch from an index to the thumb button, are you still wrapping around and are you still pulling like this, or are you doing more of a squeeze rotate?
So
Because when I
if
took your class, I was using the index and it was a pull,
Mhm.
and now I'm doing the thumb. Is it different or is it the same thing?
So you just have to realize pulling is easier to control, but less accurate because it's a big input. So if you're pulling, as long as you're pulling the trigger, you're not increasing pressure on the D loop. But if you got your fingers wrapped around the release, you might be pulling the entire system and not adding any more pressure to the trigger. Same thing with your thumb button. If you're pulling on the entire release, you're adding pressure to the D loop instead of just dragging your thumb, pulling your thumb on the trigger.
Okay.
Right? So you just look at it from an input standpoint. You still got to be able to control it, obviously, and go closed loop slow enough you could stop it. But it's about input. How much increased pressure am I putting on the D loop? So look at it from that standpoint.
Okay.
Like on a hinge, you don't pull on a hinge, you roll a hinge with your fingers. You roll it so that it doesn't increase or decrease pressure on the D loop.
Got it.
Yeah.
So we just got a time warning. I don't want it to close out again.
We got 8 minutes and 53 seconds.
Oh, okay. Perfect. I don't know. I'm not a Zoom expertise yet.
You do quite a bit of those, don't you, Joel?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That's impressive. I'm telling you, I will literally sit there for 3 minutes, I'm thinking I'm pulling, and yeah.
You're not, if you are talking to your release, you're not moving.
No, I'm not.
You're not increasing pressure on the trigger, obviously, because it's not
Yeah.
going off.
Yeah.
And then finally you're like, F it. And then as soon as you do that, boop,
Yeah.
you're gonna go open loop on it, man.
Everything's out the window at that point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Oh.
Got the wheels spinning, huh, Ron?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm taking the course for sure.
Good. Jordan, do you have your bow up there with you or not?
No, I don't. I should have brought
man.
it up here. I was supposed to go. We had a job over on the Dalton Highway, and there's a big herd that runs out there, and you're allowed to bow hunt out there.
Uh-huh.
And so the whole plan was to go out there. I was supposed to go to that job, and I was going to bring my bow and hunt, but then I ended up not going out there. I'm on the oil fields now, and you're not allowed to do any hunting up here.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You can't even bow hunt out there.
Nope, it's all oil fields up here.
Oh man.
So yeah, there had to have been 1,000 caribou yesterday crossing the road. We got stuck behind.
Huh.
Yeah. There's lots of caribous. There's been caribou running around over here the whole time I've been on Zoom with you guys.
All right on.
But no, hopefully next year.
Yeah.
One of the guys that I work with, he's out there on the Dalton right now. He shot one this morning.
Oh,
work.
nice. With his bow?
So made me a little jealous. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
That's cool. That'd be the
So
perfect
maybe next
practice
year.
for elk season, man.
I know. I was asking my PM if we're allowed to, because it says no weapons out here or anything. So I don't know if they consider bows as a weapon, but there's a camp down the road that I was at during the wintertime. They had 3D archery targets and block targets and everything in one of the shops.
Yeah, right on.
So should be able to bring one up here next year.
Right on. Well, I hope so.
Yeah, I'd like to get one.
Right on. Well, Ron, you better get shooting your bow, buddy.
Yeah, I will. And
you're itching to shoot, man.
Yeah, I'm itching to shoot now. Thank you for coming on here, and it's a pleasure to meet you.
You bet.
We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Joel. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet.
Good luck this season.
Have a good night.
Yeah, all right, you guys take care.
All right, bye.
All right, see ya.
All right, be good.